Hello, welcome back to the ministry. And picking up where I left off, I'm actually going to start here. I was talking about the fact that these men have been in manipulations with some of these women that I'm hearing the line from the old Jay-Z song. I'm about to give you the pass, the cards, the keys, and the security codes. These men have been manipulated by some of these women. In a season of wilderness, they gave up rights because that woman put it on them so good. They gave them everything, things that were supposed to go to you. And then it was only when they came back to God, and God, I'm reminded of a scene from The Lion King where uh, they make fun of this and made memes and glyphs of it, of Mufasa saying, "Remember who you are." These men needed to remember who they were in order to come and shake free from their double-mindedness of understanding, hold up, I belong and I am a child of a king. I made the choice to come out here into this prodigal environment. I lost my resources. I had to come back and get them back. As the wives, our spirits have been called to our husbands when the Lord started to pull us into these kingdom marriage seeking. And when we were devoted enough to God that we asked Him, please show us our husbands, He put a mandate upon Him showing us our husbands, pray for these men. I remember the day very clearly when the Lord put upon me the mandate, pray for this man. And I started to pray. And our prayers started to bring them back to the Lord. Our prayers made their way to them and turned their stony heart to a heart of flesh. Long before they were meant to come back into the comfort of us. Remember Xerxes. Xerxes was known to be a bit of, in some stories he's been made to be out as kind of a very strong authoritative. Some stories they make him out to be kind of wimpy. I really didn't like some of their portrayals of Xerxes in the story of Esther. Where that countryness come from. And with that, Esther calling the fast and calling the people to pray for those 3 days brought forth the heart of the king. Some of your prayers, some of the people that have been praying for you with your spouse, with you for your spouse, I had to rearrange that. Their prayers have assisted in bringing these men to a place that their hearts and their minds will come to God the way they needed to in order for God to actually really begin to use them in the way and the manner in which He desired to. Okay? Some of these men, just like the woman in Revelations 12, they have been carrying a weight. They've been pregnant with a purpose. That was a calling that was always on their life. But they could not bring it to birth because they needed their spouse. But when they came to the understanding of what they needed to birth, they were driven into the wilderness, just like the pregnant woman was driven into the wilderness after having given birth to even the ideal of what God was trying to bring out in them. They were driven into the wilderness. and the things behind their careers, their relations and relationships drove them into a darkness that they didn't understand. But God crafted them in these places. And from them, they were allowed the ability to stay, but he knew that at a certain point in time, once they had cultivated what needed to be built in that season, he needed to isolate them towards the end, bring them toward the end of that season of wilderness. He brought them into a level of isolation. He never let them go but so far. God does not give you more than you can handle. But in that, there was a level of tarrying that they needed to do upon the ground in order for preparation to occur, for them to be called out to the degree God needed them to be. In order for them to be ready to be called out, they became prodigals and ran from the ability to be called out. They knew God was trying to call them out. They saw the signs. They saw the visions. They had the dreams. God was showing them. But they ran as a prodigal for a season to prevent the Lord from calling them completely out. But in some cases, they were forced in. Much like Joseph, who was dropped into a pit and then sold into slavery. Some, your God ordained spouses, were purposely sold into the debauchery of a lifestyle that they lived for the season that they lived it. On purpose, to become a slave to that environment. Oh, it's getting good. Hold on. I'll be right back.